Hey everybody, before this video begins, I just want to warn you guys, most of the gameplay in this is extremely choppy in terms of the frame rate. My computer was having a stroke in the background and I didn't restart it before this game. So between War Thunder not always having the absolute best frame rate in Naval and my computer doing whatever it was doing, it's pretty rough to watch. It was somewhat rough to play at the same time, but I couldn't get rid of this gameplay because it had too many aspects of it that I already wanted to talk about in a video. So I'm just going to keep it for now, and you probably won't see any other videos of this frame rate quality on my channel again, because honestly, I hate it myself. It sucked to play. It kind of sucks to watch when I know what the game is supposed to look like. It really looks like I'm playing on a potato. So without further ado, let's get into it, and hopefully everybody's eyes won't be completely bothered by the absolute state of 25 FPS gameplay. Hello everybody, and today I wanted to bring you a relatively quick conquest match in my Japanese heavy cruiser, Tone. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, and it probably has a different way it's pronounced, but that's the way I'm going to pronounce it for now. And the reason I'm bringing you this is it has a lot of aspects in it that I wanted to talk about overall per how the gameplay works in War Thunder Naval, and a lot of tips that I can give to new players per what you should do in order to try to maximize your damage when you get into these matches and minimize the damage you're taking. As you can see, my first target I lined up on was a heavy cruiser, and I just kind of lobbed a couple rounds in his general directions once all my guns were lined up. And you can see them, the green shells in the distance, slowly descending towards him. And I get rather lucky on that one, sinking a Pensacola from across the map. So that was a lucky start, and now you can see I'm lining up on a battleship. My guns would have absolutely no effect on that guy at this range other than to slightly pester him. So what I'm actually doing, and my biggest tip in this video, is dropping all my torpedoes in his general direction. I'm lining up on him not so much to fire my guns at him, but I'm really lining up to launch the torpedoes, see where he's heading, and as you can see now I'm lining up on this battle cruiser that's advancing towards my team. He's actually a problem. A lot of Alaskas can do quite a bit of damage and completely disrupt an enemy team just by charging into them, because a lot of cruisers just can't deal with how much damage you have to put down on these battle cruisers, and of course the armor that they have. So I'm lobbing some shells his way. As you can see, I'm dropping some more torpedoes towards that battleship in the distance. That Tashkent, which is actually a Gaijin bot, is not going to bother those torpedoes. Most likely he will pass by them before they ever get to his location. And he can't get damaged by them like where the warships would be, so, or at least used to be. I'm not sure what it is now. But it would block me from getting those downrange to try to hit that battleship where it would hurt. And now you can see I'm starting to turn away from that battle cruiser. I'm turning my guns well in advance because they are fairly slow turning guns. But I don't want to be within 10 kilometers of that battle cruiser. A lot of guns in this game get very deadly and very hard to dodge under 10 kilometers. For you though, it does get easier to aim, so it is a give and take. Depends on the situation, what ship you're playing, and how much damage you feel like taking in return. But really for now, it's early in the match. I want to survive. I can do more damage if I survive longer, and I just took a shot from something across the map. Didn't do a whole lot other than take out my turret though. But I'm turning away. I'm launching my other spread of torpedoes from the opposite side of my ship. I'll have one more spread after that. And I'm continuing to kind of pester the incoming Alaska and see if I can't help my teammates try to ward him off, at least get him to sail away from the team and let us push into the conquest circle so we can keep that cap and run down the enemy's points. But it doesn't seem like my friendly team is having too good of a time dealing with that Alaska right now. So more shots out, more torpedoes in that direction. I'm going to shoot him a bit more, and I think I'm going to end up changing targets here pretty soon because I'm really not having much of an effect. As you can watch in the upper corner, there's some fires on him, but I'm really only doing minor crew damage to him, and my shells aren't really penetrating his armor. So at some point here, I'm going to switch targets. Yeah, I'm getting ammo elevators, but it's really only on secondary guns. His primaries are what's tearing up that Des Moines and the destroyers over there, so I really need to hopefully land one of those torpedoes and at least heavily damage him to make him reconsider his push there. Another secondary gun taken out on him. I'm lobbing a couple more shells in his direction, but as you can see, a lot of the enemy team is starting to push into that circle, and my team, needs to start pushing them back, sinking some of them to try to get them out of that circle. Now, the Type 93s that this ship has are fairly quick torpedoes, so I should be seeing an effect from them fairly soon, I would expect. And as you can see, I've switched my target to the nearby light cruiser, also a wargaming bot, so it won't give me very much reward for the damage that I do, but it is almost into the cap, so it needs to be dealt with. So shots out on the light cruiser. They should have no problem penetrating a cruiser like that. Incoming and sunk. I didn't really need to fire anything else towards it. I got the ammunition on that one too. And back to the Alaska. Lob some shells in his direction. And seems like my torpedoes stuck true and hit his ammo too. So that is a full Alaska that was really hampering my team, completely dealt with. And as I'm lining up on this cruiser on the enemy team, you can see I just had another torpedo hit across the map. Most likely is that battleship right out in the middle. I think his name is Banana Hammer. That's quite the interesting name. And you can see I'm switching my targeting around. I'm considering shooting at that battleship to see if I can have more of an effect on him. Because one of the best things you can do when you do get a torpedo hit on a ship and don't immediately sink it, like a battleship or an on-par cruiser with you, is to just immediately start shelling it if you're able to, I should say, if you're not already preoccupied. Because that is giving them more to repair, it's giving them more to worry about, and it's taking them out of the action for even longer, or increasing the amount of damage you're doing to them if their fires or flooding is continuing. As you can see, I'm zooming in and that battleship is not looking too good. And there is some extra fire going in on him, but it does look like he's having a lot of trouble with his flooding, and there he goes. I don't know if that was well, it definitely wasn't a second spread of torpedoes that got him. I believe he just couldn't fix all the damage that he had in the first place. As you can see off to the side there, I just got another torpedo hit, most likely on a Alaska that's sitting in the back there with the, I'm gonna guess, Chinese lettering. I apologize if I'm wrong there. So he's slightly damaged right now. In reality, I don't think that'll sink him, but it does look like it slowed him down. And that is slowing down everything, well, every function on his ship, I should say. His range finding, his reload, and basically all the damage that he has to fix is slowing down all those functions. He is sitting rather low in the water though, and I am shelling him more. It looks like some of my teammates have noticed that he's in trouble, and it appears he went down via the torpedoes too. Very interesting that they couldn't fix their flooding. But as you can see, I do have a torpedo coming in on me as well. I'm not sure what fired this. It is a very slow rolling torpedo, which made me more concerned about it. And it did impact me on the bow where I don't have a lot of torpedo protection. But I immediately slow down. I start my breach control or flooding control, whatever you want to call it. And I try to get that under control as fast as possible since I don't have a fire to deal with. That's probably the second best thing I can tell you out of this gameplay is when you do take a torpedo, stop your ship, it'll slow down the flooding, and deal with it immediately. If you're not getting pounded by any enemy team ships that are going to heavily damage you, try to deal with that flooding absolutely as fast as possible, because that will just send you to the bottom. And also, if your ship looks like it's, you know, completely on its side, other than just showing your bottom armor to the enemy team, or rather the lack thereof, it's going to make you a very noticeable target, because suddenly you don't have the standard silhouette that a tall cruiser, even a destroyer, would have. But I think most destroyers get sunk immediately by any torpedo hits. And figures, as soon as I get repaired from that one torpedo, another wave is coming in. And not only is it another wave, it's two. This is a interesting cross pattern from the enemy team, but there's a nice gap in it where I'm going to be able to just slip my cruiser through as I continue to line up on the battleship over there. My guns really aren't going to have any effect on him, but I want to... English, I'm sorry. It's my primary language, but I stumble over it a lot, it seems. What I want to do is get my torpedoes downrange on him. Battleships at this tier are the biggest threat to your teammates because a lot of them don't have the guns to deal with them quickly. And it seems like battleships don't exactly enjoy fighting each other. They'd rather pick on the easy damage most of the time. So torpedoes out on that, and now I'm eyeballing that light cruiser that's inside the cap and preventing us from draining down the points. It's also the closest thing to me. It appears my aim assist, for lack of a better term, is lined up, and shots out. My next torpedo spread that you see me dumping right now is kind of just in the general direction of the enemy team. I could lead those to where I think all the enemy teammates are going, but the other thing you can do is just launch them towards a mass group of the enemy, mainly around their spawn. There's quite a few player bots, or, well, not so much the wargaming bots, mainly the really crappy bot accounts that some people run, and I'm not gonna call them out quite yet here. But a lot of players will just stop if they're not under fire, and eventually when your torpedoes get to them, they just get absolutely decimated by it because they didn't expect that when they've taken no damage in the back. So that light cruiser really wasn't long for the world, and it looks like a wargaming bot of all things torpedoed it to finish it off. So sadly only an assist for me. Now this cruiser that I'm targeting now is another wargaming bot, but it is in the cap, so it needs to get dealt with. I'm turning in now. I wasn't in the cap the whole game. I was really playing back and trying to use my heavy cruiser to put damage down and get torpedoes out on the enemy team. But I'm going to start moving in here because it really looks like we can just push and win this. Most of my teammates are still up around me, and they all seem to be doing the same thing that I'm doing. So right now, closest threat is the wargaming bot. Well, threat is an understatement. They're not exactly the best of players. They can be threatening for damage over time, really, but they don't do damage to you like a player would. But he is the closest thing, and I have the guns to deal with it, and so let the shelling commence. And you can see I'm just agreeing with the team that we should push in. I've taken a little bit of damage here. I'll just cycle that repair here pretty soon. Once that's done, I'll fire my guns, or rather I overinterpreted and fired them before the repair was finished, so I have a slightly longer reload now. There is another torpedo coming into me, and I'm angling my ship, and I'm trying to take it right on the midships where I could use some of my torpedo protection, but it looks like I kind of did the opposite and managed to nail that torpedo right into my engines, most likely because of how I tilted the ship when I was making that turn. So fire was dealt with immediately thanks to my automatic fire extinguisher, or sometimes automatic fire extinguisher. And so now I'm dealing with the flooding. As you can see down on my ship indicator, I only got down to 63% buoyancy. So really not too bad. I'm going to gain that back real quick, but I'm not going to have that trouble as the enemy team's points are all gone. And right at the end, you see I get another torpedo hit on what looks like a very old battleship, probably a World War I dreadnought. So all in all, a very interesting game per showing players that you should always use your torpedoes. Just launch them downrange at something. Even if it's a general area where the enemy team's going to go. And it's going to deal damage. If you're in low tiers, your torpedoes are going to absolutely destroy enemy destroyers. It will be free damage, free sinkings. Just get them downrange. They're going to sail straight. It's just how players in War Thunder work. They W key and sail in a straight line for the most part. So it makes for easy torpedo pickings. But, on the other hand, if you do end up taking a torpedo, get that fire out, stop your ship as fast as possible, hit your B key, the game will do it for you, and then deal with the flooding as soon as you can, because it will put you under if you just continue sailing and ignore it as long as possible. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned a little something, and I'll see you next time.